All right, now that we've talked about posture, let's go to this view and talk about finger numbers. So finger numbers at the piano is pretty simple. It's symmetrical, so we're going to work with our thumbs out. Our thumbs are finger number 1, and then we go to our pointer finger, which is finger 2. Our middle finger is finger 3, finger 4, and finger 5. One thing you can do to practice this is if you have just a table, you're bored at work or school or whatever, you can just practice wiggling your fingers and get associating them with different finger numbers. So you can wiggle finger 1 in the right hand, finger 2 in the left hand, finger 5 in the right hand, and so forth. You just want to get used to really associating these numbers with these fingers. That's simple enough, and there will be a review for that in the worksheet that you can download. And then, of course, one of the first things that people want to learn at the piano is what the notes are. So we're going to talk about that. When you first look at the keyboard, it can look like kind of a mess of black and white keys. But learning the names of the keys is really quite simple, and after some practice, it becomes very obvious. So the first thing you want to notice when you're looking at the keyboard is the layout of the black keys, because the black keys are going to be your reference point. What I usually have people do is go from the bottom to the top of the keyboard and find groups of 2 black keys like this, and groups of 3 black keys like this. Just becoming visually aware of these groups of 2 black keys and these groups of 3 black keys is one of the best things you can do when you start learning the piano, because being able to look down and grab that quickly is going to give you a great reference point. Now, we use these groups of 2 black keys and these groups of 3 black keys to learn the letter names of the white keys. So when we're talking at the piano, a lot of times we'll say down and we mean to the left, and we'll say up and we mean to the right. But what you want to do is find a group of 2 black keys and go directly down beneath that group of 2 black keys, and that key there is the key C. Now be careful that you're not playing above. That would actually be an E. You want to play below this group of 2 black keys, and also not in the middle. So you want to just make sure that you have the group of 2 and you're all the way below to the white key that's directly beneath them. And what I would have students do, and what you ought to do, is to find several C's on the keyboard. So this is the key C. So when you go from the bottom and find C's going all the way up the keyboard. From the get-go, it's very important that you start to learn the key names based on the black notes and not counting up. So one thing you'll see people do is they'll have C and they'll start to count up, like C, D, E. Okay, that's an E. Now that's fine at first, because C could be a reference point, but I would really suggest that you make sure to learn what the keys look like individually. So then, of course, after C, as you might have guessed, is D. And I know it's, by the way, strange that we start with C as sort of the bass note and not A, and I don't have an answer to why. That's just how the keyboard is laid out, and traditionally how we start. So that's C, and then D here is in the middle of the 2 black notes. So you want to get used to Ds. So we'll continue this. You're going to play all the Ds going up like this. And then we're going to go to E, which is above the 2 black notes. So far we have C, D, and E. Now, this point, if you're really new to the layout of the keyboard, some of you have had maybe past keyboard experience might find this obvious, but if you're really new to the layout of the keyboard, at this point I would go back and start to review things. So this is a C, this is a D, and this is an E. It's also helpful at this point to start trying to learn to visualize the keyboard in your head. In other words, to be able to close your eyes and see the keys in your head. Now that's something we'll talk about more in future videos when we talk about visualization, which is a pretty complex topic. But for now, even if you can kind of start to see, oh, that's what an E looks like, that's a really good idea. Okay, so we have C, D, and E. Now we have 4 more notes to learn, or 4 more keys to learn. We have F, G, and then A and B. So in the musical alphabet, after G, we actually go back to A. So there's no H in the musical alphabet. So we have C, D, and E. And now we're going to start using the black keys as our reference. So if you take the group of 3, we're going to start using the groups of 3 black keys as our reference. So if you take a group of 3 black keys, right below that is F. So we'll go and find all the different Fs on the keyboard. And I'm trying to stay within the video frame, but you could go way down low or way up high if you want and find all those different Fs. Okay, and then same thing for G. So here's our G. Now G is an easy one actually for people to forget, so you really want to take note of, you have these 3 black keys and then 2 white keys in the middle of them, you see. So this is G and this is A. Kind of start to get a visual idea of the fact that G is the lower one here. So you have G, G, and then A, 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 just like that. All right, and now we're going to go above the 3 black keys and we'll go up to B. So we'll find all these different Bs. And then we're back to C. So that's all there is to it. It's kind of a simple exercise. Some of you may think it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but I really think it's the best way to start approaching the keys. Some people, it's amazing, they'll spend a long time practicing the piano and I'll still see them counting up like C, D, E, F. Okay, that's an F. And that's such a waste of brain power. You'd be amazed. Make sure that you really take a few days just to get these down so that it's like, that's an E, that's a C, that's a D, that's a B, until it just becomes very, very obvious to you. And make sure you're using the black notes as reference points here. Okay, well that's it for our first piano lesson. And we've covered things that a lot of beginner piano students actually don't get access to. And these are things that I would really take the time out, even if they seem like they're basic things, to make sure you get right from the get-go. For instance, how you're sitting at the piano, whether you have proper posture, and whether you're learning the key names based on the black notes and not counting up. All the stuff we talked about like that. When you first start learning the piano, it can seem like there's a lot of information and there's this temptation to kind of breeze through it. But I would really take my time and make sure you have the fundamentals down first, because when you project out a year, 2 years, 5 years, these are the sort of things that you're going to be building on. So if you can really take the time to get those fundamentals down, you'll be glad that you did it. And just take your time going from lesson to lesson. Now, one thing that I've made to help you do that is something very similar to what I give my students in private lessons. Is a practice sheet, a list of assignments or tips and notes on the lessons. And you can download that PDF. I've attached a link to the bottom of this video just in case you're not watching on one of our actual websites. If you do want to go to the websites, you can go to pianoblog.com, and I'll attach links to all of that stuff below. I think that you're really going to enjoy the next couple videos, because we're going to talk a little bit more about learning the keys and then get into some basic patterns and also get into some piano technique and some fundamental piano technique that I've seen even really far along self-taught students not have, and things that I've had to go back and work with students on many times. So I think that the next couple lessons are going to be very valuable to you if you're just starting out, because you'll get a solid foundation in real proper piano technique. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in lesson 2.